Well, I shouldn't say I was told. I went online and I saw this guy. I don't know if you watched on YouTube. There's this guy named C&S Corvettes. He's in Florida, and he.
Oh, I got a fucking bird shit.
You can watch that up. They got the Z06.
Oh, yeah.
This is my friend's Corvette. Oh, look at that. You got the Z06 with the trunk.
It's got a pro charger too.
Look at this thing, beautiful. Oh, you even got a stick shift.
Oh, that's all they come in, dude.
Oh, the Z06, yeah, they only need stick shifts, yeah.
Yeah, and then the trunk opens. It's kind of dirty. I don't really use it too much.
I gotta take some pictures. Hold on. Let me put this down. Anyway, this guy, if you ever get a chance, he's on YouTube. Anyway, long story short, he knows all about this. And he says the C5, this one, first off, is actually considered pretty reliable, which I like.
Oh, they're badass.
And also, he says, but you want to, echoing what you just said, you kind of want to stay in the 2000 and up. What year is this one? This is 04. Where did you buy this? Who did you buy this
I bought this
off?
private party. I've had it for at least 6 years.
In New York? You went to New York?
That's where the original. And then the interior's still decent, you know what I mean, for what it is. You know,
Yeah, I mean, well,
seats aren't ripped right here. It's got a little start.
I saw one that the guy wanted about, I think 15,000, but it had over 120,000
Oh, this has got
miles.
50 something, 53.
53,000 ain't bad.
53.
That's really good.
I know it's low.
54, that's nothing. That's fantastic. I see these vets all over the place, but they're always like 120, 112,000.
I had, you know what I mean?
There's like the one right before the C7, I think it is. That one supposedly gets stolen left and right because it has like a fob, like it recognizes you before you don't have to press the button.
Oh no shit.
But like thieves, they come with their little laptop and shop and try to reprogram it, and then they steal your car.
Right.
So this is better because it has the key, you know.
Right.
What are you doing, Henry? You doing big things, huh? New toys?
I was telling him I'm thinking about buying a vet, so he's showing me his vet.
I just happened to bring it today because I got shoulder surgery about a month and a half ago.
Oh yeah.
So I'm trying to stay off the bike. You know?
I mean, I could get an RV, then I'd be one of the cool people.
You're all over the fucking place with that thing, huh, dude?
Man, I'm taking short trips
That bitchin'.
to get used to it and make sure I know how everything works.
Word.
And if something goes wrong, I can fix it. So in the next couple of months, when I retire and I start taking off long
So you are
trips,
gonna retire.
Next month. All right, cool Corvette. All right, that was pretty cool. That's my friend Henry's Corvette. He was giving me some pointers if I want to buy a vet. Anyway, we're about to head out to Mt Baldy, but I'm here at Layla Harley-Davidson. So there it is. By the way, this is where I bought my motorcycle. Where I bought my Road Glide was right here at Layla Harley-Davidson. And it's a good bike. It's been a good steed. But you know, I am debating whether I should keep it or move on to a Corvette or something else. But we'll see. Anyway, let's go up the mountain to Mt Baldy. All right, we're heading up to Mt Baldy right now. Anyway, let's ride. All right, my friends, how you doing? So, you know, get on the bike here, heading up to Mt Baldy. Oh yeah, my friends. You know, these group rides, I always like riding in a pack like this. It's always a lot of fun. You know, some bikers aren't into it. You know, there's some bikers who like to say they're the lone wolf rider. And they just want to do their own thing. And I can see the appeal of that too, because you know, when you ride by yourself, you can, you know, go as fast as you want, leave when you want, come when you want, all that kind of fun stuff. But I love being in a group. I always feel it's like, you know, safety in numbers, especially here in Los Angeles. You're riding in heavy traffic. You know, cars, you know, a lot of times a car have been known to hit bikers, and they're always the same excuse. I didn't see you. That's always their excuse. But when you're with the group, then usually you're a little safer because the cars will see a whole line of bikers, you know. So I like it, but there are some bikers that aren't into it. But for me, that's really one of my favorite things to do. So like, I've been playing around, like I mentioned in one of my other videos, about maybe doing some, selling the bike, doing other things. But the one thing I do like about riding is when I ride with the group. It's always so much fun. You meet everybody at a meetups place, like over there when we met up at Laylaw Harley. You're all hanging out, you're catching up on the week, what happened during the week. Then you go up the mountain, you're riding up, you all, everybody gets off the bikes, they're laughing, everybody's having a good time. And it's just a great way to spend a Saturday or a full weekend. And then these guys that I've met on these rides, I've they've taken me to a whole bunch of adventures in my life. I've been going to the Philippines. Why do I go to the Philippines? Because my biker friends told me about it. They took me to Sturgis. I've been on a lot of adventures with these biker friends of mine. So, I'm a big fan of group rides. I always enjoy it. But there are people who don't like it because they say it's, well, there's always a dangerous rider and this and that. But I don't know. I personally like a group ride. So that's just my opinion. Anyway, we're heading up Mount Baldy, as you can see here. It's always a nice ride up the hill. Mount Baldy is also known for skiing. So in the wintertime, a lot of people go up there to ski. And then they're also known for hiking. Oh, and also sports cars go up there and, drive around real fast, just like motorcycles do. But actually, I think it was last December 2025, really near the end, like the 29th or something like that. I think there was 3 hikers that died up there. There's like an area on the top of the mountain there called the Devil's Backbone, and it's basically kind of a slim little trail, and you're kind of like on the edge of the mountain. So like if you're the best, you're just on this little skinny little trail, and if you deviate from it, you could easily fall off the mountain. So you got to be right on that. That's why it's called the Devil's Backbone, because you got to be right there. You got to walk it and make sure you're careful. But these 3 kids, or I don't know if they were kids. I think they might have been in their early 20s. But these 3 people, they went up there in the winter time, so it's already like snowing and cold and all that stuff. And then I guess their bodies were found near the Devil's Backbone. So the thinking is that basically they lost their footing and basically fell to the side there. So it can be dangerous, and of course even riding a motorcycle, people are racing up and down this hill, this mountain, and bike accidents happen and things happen. So you got to always be mindful of that. But other than those concerns, it's a great ride. I always have a good time riding up there. And, this was just another great ride. Glad I went on it. All right, we're here at Mount Baldy. All right, let me go inside and get something to eat. All right, I'm here at the Mt Baldy restaurant, right there. And we just finished eating. I'm waiting for my friends to come out already paid. But let me show you a little bit around the area here. So this is the Mt Baldy restaurant. This is usually where we go eat. Over there's the museum. I've actually been there before. It was pretty cool. Up there's the mountain. Some of my friends' bikes. So yeah, pretty cool. Trying to make sure I don't get run over here. Here comes a truck. And there's the Mt Baldy restaurant. So that's usually where all the bikers go and hang out when they come up the mountain here. All right, so I'm gonna head back down and we'll pick up some more about this. We'll do some more of the video when I'm back down the hill. All right, my friends, how's it going? I had a little issue with my video after the ride. So I went to Mt Baldy, I did a ride, and then I did this kind of recap video. But I don't know what happened with the video. It came out looking a little strange. So I I'm redoing it. I'm redoing the ending. So if you're wondering why all of a sudden I got different clothes on, that's because I had already started editing the video and I realized, oh, this isn't looking quite right. But anyway, I went up to Mount Baldy. It was a pretty good ride. It was kind of straight up and down. Heard some bad news about one of my friends who passed away, unfortunately by his own hands, which I always think that's horrible. When people choose that road. I won't go into it in this video, but it's sad when to me life is magical. It's so much fun. Yeah, you got problems. Everybody's got money problems, or they got love problems, or whatever. But in general, life is fun. You go out, you meet people, you ride motorcycles, you drive cars, you go fall in love. It's just fun. So when someone chooses the dark path, I feel like, wow, that's kind of sad. Because once you die, that's it. Party over. That's it. I mean, maybe you go to heaven, maybe you get reincarnated, I don't know. But when it's over, when your life's over, it is over. There is no coming back. Even if you come back as another person, well, okay, you're another person, but you're not the same person. And if you go to heaven, well, you're in heaven with the angels or whatever, but you're still kind of not the same person, and you're still not coming back. So I think it's very sad when someone chooses that path. But anyway, next week they're doing a memorial ride, so I'm going to try to go on that. But also next week is Chopper Fest. And I really like Chopper Fest. So I'm going to try to make it to that as well. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Might have to leave the memorial early or leave Chopper Fest early. I'll have to figure all that out. But you'll see that in the next video. What else? I also want to comment a bit about, my motorcycle and with the future of riding and everything. So as my channel has kind of become, it started out a lot about boot reviews, and I still do a lot of stuff about boots. I'm always trying to show the boots because I know a lot of my viewers, that's their main thing. They want the boots. So I try to show the boots as much as I can. But, it's a bit about motorcycles. I've done some guitar stuff. And so it's kind of becoming, I guess, more of a vlog about just my life and showing you around LA. But with that said, I've been riding my motorcycle for, I guess 10, maybe 12 years, something like that. And I've had a few bikes, a Honda Fury, Honda Magna, Iron Horse, my Harley. But I feel like kind of I'm in a crossroads here, where the fork of the road, my friends. So I feel like maybe I need to try something new. So I've been debating about whether I should sell my motorcycle, buy a Corvette or a Camaro or something, and maybe get more into the car world. I do love cars. Even my friend who I showed you earlier in the video, who has that blue and white Corvette, he was like saying, hey, Oz, maybe we could work out a deal. Maybe I can sell you my Vet, if you really want one. So, I don't know, maybe I'll take him up on that offer. I don't know, we'll see. But, I just feel like, you reach a point in life, life is interesting. Because, when I was a kid, my dad had a secretary. And one day we were talking about life. And I was a kid, so we were going to school, you know how school is. You go half the year you're in school, then you got summer, then you come back to school. And then you got different semesters. They might have different teachers. You know how it is. And I remember telling my dad's secretary, oh, yeah, I'm going to go back to school in the fall, a new teacher, blah, blah, blah. And she said to me, but that's great. It is great that you get to have that experience, because when you're an adult, you don't really get new experiences. Every year is the same as last year. If you have a job, there's no summer break. You work all year long, and then next year you work all year long again at the exact same job, unless you get laid off or something. And life is it's just repetitive. But when you're a kid, it's constantly changing. You got new semesters, you're meeting new kids, you're going on summer breaks, it's always changing. You got new teachers, eventually you graduate, you go on to, maybe you go out to college, or you go out to see friends at spring break or whatever, but you're always having these adventures. But when you get old, when you're an adult, life kind of just sort of levels out. And at the time I was like, okay, I didn't really, grasp what she was trying to say. But it is true that life sort of kind of repeats itself, You do almost the same thing every year. And I've been riding my bike for a while now. When I first got my bike, it was new. Everything was great. I loved riding. I loved going to different places, seeing the sights. But now I feel like I'm in the fork of the road here, because I feel like I've been riding, it's become repetitive now. I've been to Mt Baldy 1,000,000 times now. I've been to Cook's Corner 1,000,000 times. I've been to Neptune's Net so many times, it's ridiculous. I can still remember the first time I went to Neptune's Net. It was exciting, but now I've, been there a zillion times. So that's why I'm kind of thinking, well, maybe I should sell the bike and, buy if not a Corvette, maybe something else, a Camaro, a Mustang, I don't know. Of course, my biker friends, except for the guy who offered to sell me his van, except for him, but the other biker friends, they were like, never sell the bike, Oz, never. They're like, if you are tired of riding, just put the bike in storage. Just put it in storage somewhere, for a year or whatever, until, you get this out of your system, this feeling that you need to change things. And then, your bike would be sitting there, and you just put oil and gas back in it, and you start her up, and you're back on the road. So that, I thought that's kind of a valid thing to say. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. I'm a lot of times I'm just when I have to make these kind of hard decisions, I think, and then finally I pull a trigger one way or the other. But one thing about like buying a new car, for instance, especially a second car, it's the cost, right? It's very expensive and all that kind of stuff. And I've always believed you should, as a friend of mine once told me, and I've believed it ever since, never be in a rush to spend money. If you don't take anything else from this video, my friends, never be in a rush to spend money. Never. Even if you have a lot of money. Let's say you have $50 million. You let it sit there and you let it sit in the bank or whatever, you think about everything you're going to buy. You want to buy that Maserati? You think about it. A lot. You want to go party in Las Vegas? You think about it for weeks, if not months, before you actually go to Vegas. And, and you still look for deals. I mean, most recently, the police is coming in the background. I don't know if they're chasing after somebody. But anyway, most recently, Mickey Rourke, the actor, he's on GoFundMe or something because he can't afford to pay his expensive, I don't know if he lives in an apartment or has a house, but he can't afford to pay the mortgage or rent or whatever it is. And this is Mickey Rourke. And I've been hearing recently about a lot of influencers and actors and musicians who are broke, basically. If you ever wonder why bands like The Who or Kiss are constantly doing reunion tours, or this is our final tour like Motley Crue, it's because they have no money. So they're doing these things to keep the money going. So just be careful how you spend money. I try very hard to be careful. So that's why when my friends, for instance, say, don't sell the motorcycle, just go buy a Corvette or something and keep the motorcycle. The problem is that this is an extra expense. So for me, I've always believed, if you're going to buy something new, you really should try to sell something you're not using anymore, if possible. It's not always possible, but if possible. Now, with that said, I got a bunch of guitars. Well, really, I should only have one, but that's a whole nother story. But anyway, we'll see. So I just wanted to wrap up the video. Like I said, the earlier wrap up I did, for some reason the video just came out kind of corrupted. It didn't look great. So next week, I think I'm going to have some video footage of probably this memorial ride that we're going to do for my friend who passed away. And maybe I'm also going to try to throw in some Chopper Fest. So look forward to that in the next video. And until then, my friends, as always, ride like the wind. Don't let that wind ride you. And I will see you on the next one.